Well, joining us right now live, one of last night's big winners, Senator-elect Cory Gardner. Welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So this was such a tough race. How are you feeling this morning?
You know, there's so many people on the campaign, volunteers, people around the state who work their tail off to make this happen. My hat goes off to them, and they've been incredible, and so I'm excited for them, and I'm excited for the work that we have to do.
Unfortunately, you can't bask in this too long because the American public's out there going, all right, GOP, you've got the power now. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to reach across the aisle and get things done?
Well, that's exactly right. I think people who say that this is a mandate for Republicans or against Democrats are mistaken. What this was a mandate against people who don't fix problems, a mandate against dysfunction, and that's why we have to work across the aisle and find those solutions that the American people agree with, whether it's economic issues or energy issues. Put it on the president's desk. Let's work together and solve problems.
And you've been out there, you've been campaigning, talking to voters. I'm curious as to some of the feedback you've been getting. You
know, they're excited. They were excited when we started into the race, and as we got closer, they realized that change was about to happen. But they're going to be impatient. They're going to have a very short fuse in terms of actually getting the job done. And so if that doesn't happen over the next 2 years, you'll see the same thing happen, but the other way, if we don't do our job.
We saw Mark Udall's campaign talking about what we should not like about you. What should those Democrats out there who maybe didn't vote for you, what should they like about you?
We're do everything we can to bring people together over the common solutions that we love and cherish about Colorado, and that makes sure that we focus on our environment, we focus on economic issues to get this country back to work. Those are things that aren't red or blue, but they're ideas for Colorado that we can rally behind.
And speaking of red or blue, there's a lot of red on the maps. So what would you say this is saying about voters and the current state? Right now?
Just get the job done. I think what happened is people who were perceived to be in power were held accountable for big debt, economic failures that haven't been, the economy that hasn't been as strong as it should have been. And so those are the kinds of things that were held accountable last night. And that's why we've got to do our job to make sure that we're turning things around.
Do you think we're at a point now where the voters are going to allow the men and women we send to Washington to really reach across the aisle? By that, I mean, there was a day I think that we would people, you think about Clinton, I think about Gingrich, where they were praised for sticking to their morals or their beliefs, but they also negotiated. They compromised. As of late, though, people we send to Washington, if you dare compromise, you don't get back in office.
You know, Senator Armstrong from Colorado years ago said that he was firm in his principle but flexible on the details. And if we confuse everything, every detail for principles, that's a very difficult way to move forward. And so I think the new governing idea for Republicans and for Democrats ought to be making sure that we work together and we can find that common ground to put solutions in place, regardless of how big the issue is.
And what are some of your other big priorities going into this?
You know, again, it is trying to find and build those relationships so that we can work across the aisle. It's making sure the House and the Senate are actually communicating with each other. As a member of Congress, I was frustrated many times over the fact that it didn't seem like the House and the Senate actually talk to each other. And so we've got to make sure that people are communicating, are working together, and that we understand that the American people, they don't want to wait for answers. They want those answers now.
There's a lot that's right about this country, but there are some things that concern people. The economy maybe not stable as we'd like to see it. Unemployment higher than we wanted to see it. People are worried about ISIS. What's the first order of business? What's the priority here?
Yeah, the priority's got to be, again, just addressing these big problems like the economy. I spoke to a woman the other day who had 2 jobs in her family and she was still struggling to make ends meet. Even as unemployment in Colorado has dropped to 4.7%, she's still struggling to make ends meet for her family. We can do better, and those are the big ideas, the big focus that we have to have.
And I understand you got in the race a little bit late. Why was this so important for you to do this?
I could have stayed in a safe Republican House seat, the 4th Congressional District, but it wasn't about staying in a safe seat. It's about solutions. And I believe the solutions that we could put together were by changing the Senate majority. And we did that last night. Now we've got just a few years to prove it.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Now you get to go rest at least for a little bit, huh?
Yeah,
that's right.
More
work to be done.
Day.
Yeah, very good. All right. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We appreciate it. Yeah.